All right. So, hey, Road, we are here for our fourth dose already, fourth dose with Youth Are Here, a youth podcast based out of Chicago, born in the pandemic. And we are here with Layan, who is a senior at Taft High School. She enjoys politics, history, and community organizing. So without further ado, let's get right into it. How are you, Layan?
Hi, everyone. I'm okay. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. You know, it's Sunday, what, October 17th. I can't even believe that we're
I know.
through October. And Halloween decorations are up and Christmas decorations are in the store. I can't.
I can't believe it's been 9 months since we're on lockdown. Um, so many things have happened, and it's crazy that it almost feels like nothing has happened. It almost feels like like time has paused. But in reality, it's not. And there's just so much going on with everyone, I think, individually, and then in just the world that we live in. So that's been really interesting to see that play out.
Yeah. I think pause is a great way to put it. I know some people are trying to use this pause as like a way to be productive. Like, okay, the world has paused, but I'm gonna keep moving on, and I'm gonna like take advantage of everybody else who's like taking a water break, you know. And then there's some of us that are like, no, this pause is needed. It's purposeful. Like, what is your take on this pause?
So actually, starting out those 2 weeks that we were supposed to take off of school, I was like, I'm gonna make the most of this. This is God's way of telling me to study for my AP exam. This is God. This is like the break that I really wanted because I think it was really hard last year. Just I was challenging myself academically and then with school, and I think I felt like I was holding myself back. So I was like, this is my time to figure out everything. It's 2 weeks. It's supposed to be helpful. And then
2 weeks.
it turned
So
into
funny.
2 more weeks. And then it turned into 9 months. So, but honestly, I think I've never been as proactive as I have in a 9 months. And it's funny because I don't feel like I'm doing anything. Like I feel like I could be doing more. Um, and it's because I'm also someone who has really high expectations for myself. It's almost constantly like a go, go, go. What's the next thing that I can do? Um, which is both a good thing and a horrible thing because my mental health right now is not like at its peak. I feel very distant from everything. And that's the best way I can describe it to everyone. I feel very distant. I feel like I'm in the moment, but then I don't feel like I actually have interaction. Um, so it's been really weird. I going into it, or like this is a perfect thing. I needed this, but then I think by May I was really out of it. And I didn't even I it was really hard for me to even do school. And I'm someone who really likes school. I enjoy school. I like learning, and I like talking to people. And that was also CPS's policy. Then we weren't allowed to even do um, video like calls. So everything was just online. Teachers were assigning work, and it was all very much. And the idea of having school, not like I the idea of not having school until June actually terrified me. Like that gave me anxiety because I am such a social butterfly, and God, it destroyed me. And my mental health was I think that's at its lowest, and I was very anxious. And I think I've gotten out of that because I kind of embraced the whole quarantine thing in the summertime, because that's when I was like, okay, let me join this, let me do this application, maybe it'll help. But then I ended up doing too much. uh, I did four things over the summer. One that was 7 weeks, debate camp was 7 weeks, SAC, which was 6 weeks, an internship for 2 weeks that also intersected with SAC, and then a course like a course of like human rights course for 4 weeks. And so that just shows like how in my head in May when I was applying for this, I was like, I need something to distract myself. And then I ended up like going all the way. So I enjoyed everything. But
What was the 2 week internship?
oh, it was a business thing. It was like a business internship for future founders or something.
Oh.
I really did it because I think like, oh, this is a completely different topic, but I am just really interested in how things work. So that's why like I took it. I'm also taking business management this year so I was like, oh, I'll get a head start. um yeah, so that's what I did it. I also kind of did it for the money, but we're not gonna talk about that.
Yeah. That's always a plus. That's always a plus.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
learned
and
something though. So
distract yourself. Like you did these applications to distract yourself. Distract yourself from what?
oh oh, we're getting into this. I okay, so in quarantine I went from not being home because I hate being home. Like I went from going to debate tournaments, going to just like different social things, like volunteering at my mosque. I'm on the youth team, so we were there. I was there. I'm there every Saturday, doing some type of program for like younger kids, or we're doing, or like making blankets for the homeless, and just like I went from doing things every single day, or like having something to do every single day, to not getting any human interaction other than my family for like 4 months. And because I needed that social interaction, I like went all in. Um, and I also with BLM happening. Oh my god! During June, I think I was a wreck. Like it was affecting. Like it's crazy to me how. It's crazy to me how. Sorry. It's crazy to me how much like was everything was going on and it was really affecting me. And then I was realizing so many people's stances on things at my school, people who I like considered not friends but like acquaintances,
Yeah.
and just like realizing that just realizing how people are not who they portray themselves to be, and it took a toll on me. So I think that also like it drove me to do something about it, because like everything, for some reason, everything that I did this summer was connected in some type of way, and a lot of it in a way was like connected to some type of social justice, so like organizing. Like the class I took was a human rights class. Debate topic for this year that we just continued in that we explored in debate camp, and that we were learned about was criminal justice reform. So we went and talked about, we were like learning about these really leftist, like Marxist, Angela Davis type of affirmatives, and just like going into it and just learning all of these different things. And it like almost also really empowered me. So yeah, I guess that's what drove me to do it, because I wanted that social interaction. I just wanted something to do. But I also I kind of was frustrated with the system. I'm not gonna like sit here and say that I wasn't, because I was. I was
Yeah.
frustrated. Everything everything that was going on, and still going on today, it's still it's huge. It's gonna go down in history, and it was all youth led. Like that's amazing. That's amazing. It was people my age and people who are a few years older than me who were doing all of this. And if that doesn't speak power, if like that spoke to me.
Yeah.
So
The I just so many things there, and I always forget, and I try to like hear it, like insert a keyword in my mind, and then the keyword gets like removed as soon as I hear something else. But but
same, but yes.
to your point about youth organizing, it has been super impressive to see like the level of organization, but also like there's a lot that goes into organizing that us, and I mean I'm 32, so I don't consider myself old, but there is definitely a learning curve just with, you know, social media presence and getting people there, like, us, anybody can, figure out the logistics of like, okay, how do we get people mobilized and blah blah blah, but like spreading the word and doing it on technology is something that, like, the youth, that's the lane. Like, the rest of us have to go to school for it, but the youth.
Isn't it amazing though? Like,
Yeah.
isn't it incredible how so many people like use social media and just like every resources? It literally probably didn't cost anyone anything to create a protest or just like put it out there because of just online mobilizing, and young people were to do that. That was really cool. And I think, okay, everyone likes to hate on young people not knowing things or just like not being capable of doing things. But then you have so many people who are our age who are creating these vast movements for change, who are keeping people accountable and who are educating older people on what's right and what's wrong. And if like, yeah, so it's incredible. And I think the best thing I can like trace it to, other than BLM, is the March for Our Lives thing. I mean, okay, I'm biased. I work with them, but I started to work with them because it was March for Our Lives became a thing when I was in 8th grade, and I was still at a private school. I was at a small Islamic private school back then, but I saw that, like, that was the first thing that my generation experienced, like an actual movement of our time in the 21st century that was created by young people. And that I still remember the town hall that they did with the Florida politicians and just how they held them accountable. That was amazing, and that was like youth led. And I think young people are the brightest and have so much potential, but we also need a lot of work, and like a lot of us still need to be able to recognize that because it's not the majority, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was talking. I do some coaching with a man in his 50s, and we were discussing um, like his what he wants to do with his career, and knowing your strengths and knowing who you need to put on your team so that you can like fill that void. And we were bringing up coaching and the coaching business, like coaching, career coaching, whatnot. But he was bringing up how back in the day, you would get a coach, business coach, speech coach, whatever, and there would generally be somebody older than you because they have more experience and they're wise and blah blah blah, and that's valuable. But like these days, older people need a younger coach. Like he has 20-year-olds on his team as far as how to do YouTube videos and marketing, and how to not hand make envelopes, like. Like, and I think that older people may not necessarily realize that, and when they do, there's that ego that they're going to have to check, that you might need to be coached by somebody younger than you, because not just for like hard skills like we're mentioning with social media, but that open-mindedness. The other that we were discussing was like how we so much need to like, or we talk about like needing to learn the hard way and learn through experience. And now in this day and age when everything can be Googled, everything is on a podcast, everything is in a video, it's like, oh, I'm learning about like what, white supremacy, or okay, I learned about it and I'm good. I don't need to learn the hard way. It's like there's just like an open-mindedness. I learned about it, I accept, or whatever, but I don't necessarily need to learn the hard way. And I feel like that's a huge shift, because this time where it seems like young people are so knowledgeable on so many topics, like they're like scholars, but it's all through personal interaction, Google, whatever it is, where you don't necessarily need to go to college or learn firsthand.
yeah. And I think it's weird because TikTok has done that. Like a lot of my TikTok feed is just talking about these big, like, things that not all of us quite understand, but like people understand it. I think till this day, a lot of people don't understand basic things like different like democratic ideals, or like what Marxism is or what communism is, and like as an actual ideology, not just based off of like World War II, not based off of Stalin's communism, but I mean, it's a thing that you don't necessarily have to agree with, but you still learn about it, and you know about it just for the sake of knowing about it, so you can debate it. Like I mean, at least for me, well, I mean, not to debate it, but like I have to learn it for debate. So,
Yeah.
but the point is, like, I just it's like a, you're right, it's a very normal thing, and it's weird because you learn it through things like that we just interact with on a daily basis, like Instagram, Twitter has been also a huge one for me. And like there's also a really new interesting way of teaching things on Instagram through these like neon posts that are really colorful and make it like that just like cover so much things that you don't learn in school, like white female feminism, or things like that that we don't necessarily talk about in world studies or in whatever history. So I think that's really interesting. Yeah.
No, I was on TikTok for about a week, and then I was like, nope, I can't, it's too much. Like it's visually too much. It's so busy. And I felt like I didn't have anything to add. I don't have any choreography. I don't really know how to like point to font. I was like, I don't think this is my realm. I think I'm just gonna get kind of lost in this. But definitely, like I'm like on Instagram, you definitely see TikTok things, and even on Instagram, like you get so much content in what seems to be like bite size. Like even if I'm just going through slides, I've learned so much in like 8 slides than I did in my entire 4 years of high school history, or you know what I mean. And then also like you see there's so much value in seeing like who else follows that page, because that's like what makes it reputable, like, oh, I know this okay, so Layan follows this is legit. Like I know this is their realm, they follow this, they like this is legit. Like there's something to that, so that it's not just from like, Mr. O'Brien and World History vouches for this textbook. It's a different, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you like even learning about things that are not talked about, like the difference between Latinx and like Hispanics. Like a lot of people don't know that, and that's general knowledge that we should all know and that should be incorporated in our everyday classroom, but they're not, it's not, sadly. And just like these are things that I've never interacted with until this year, and that's sad. I'm almost 17. Like that's really sad. So yeah.
Since we're talking about social media and like the information and education, like how is you're a senior. Do you see your education, which you're learning, reflecting what's going on in the world? Do you feel like something's missing? Are you talking about what you're learning on social media in the classroom?
So I mean, okay, I'm in IB. I'm actually a junior. I'm in
So
IB, so
sorry.
it would be, no, it's fine. I should have clarified that, but it's so my experience is different because in IB you are expected to like, so take what you're learning and apply it to the real world. So a lot of what we do, so okay, it depends. In history right now we're talking about World War II, right? But because I am really politically minded and just like really interested in stuff like that, it is something that I will connect to our current day politics, just because that's how I am. Like
I think
so
that's really
I always, yeah, but many people, I don't think many people do that though.
no.
Like, yeah.
Is that chapter, I have an education background, but there is that like that learning that we have, like, okay, you read this book related to self, related to text, related to the world, and then we like we do that chapter, and then we like never revisit it or apply it to our real world.
So yeah, I agree. And I mean, IB is really about like holistic learners and just like applying everything to real world. And I do see that a lot, especially in our English essay. Like we were writing a Hamlet essay, and we had to pick a theme, and then we had to connect it to a global issue. And IB global issues are things, they could be basically anything. I chose mental health. and just like how madness and insanity, how it was portrayed in the film and how it's portrayed right now, and how it's a global issue that many people deal with and have a connection to. So I think in IB that is provided, but I also do credit my teachers for being able to talk about it. It's not always easy, specifically because of the demographic of Taft. Um, it's different. It's in the northwest side, and it, it's a police neighborhood, and people have just different political views um, than most people, but it's also pretty split in half. So um, you do have, not even politically, just like socioeconomically as well. You have 51% of the population who are lower income, and then that 49% that come from the surrounding areas that are really nice and very suburban like. So it's different. It's definitely different. And I think that was definitely shown. I'm gonna connect this to the cops, like cops out of CPS. We were trying to do that whole initiative at Taft and with the LSC vote and everything. It really showed that, like it really portrayed the demographic and just the people in charge in general. I am on the student voice committee, so they're not gonna like that I'm saying this, but it's the truth. I'm very involved with admin too, so but it's the truth. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that segue into Taft, because I wanna get into like the high school experience and remote learning online, but I want to stick on Taft just for a moment. I'm not to put them on blast, but because I'm a Taft alum and went their freshman to senior year and graduated in 2002, and I haven't been in the building since graduating, but the demographics have changed tremendously, and when I went to Taft from '02 to '06, yeah, graduated in '06. It was very like it was very so I was in IB but couldn't handle it. God bless your soul. But 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 the people who were not in the neighborhood were like either in IB or ROTC, or I guess like in within the boundaries, right? Or yeah, or you were in the boundaries and blah 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 blah. But it was very prevalent Polish culture, a lot of Polish students, and a lot of open smoking and drinking in the school. I don't know what Taft is like now, but whoever went to Taft when I was there knows that it was pervasive, totally normal culture. I remember getting my cell phone taken away, and my dad had to come up to the school, and he was appalled that there was just like a line of like 60 girls smoking along the Taft building, and he's like, what kind of school did I send you to? I was like, I don't know, you approved it. But that was, and I think that's so important to bring up, because the school culture very much depends, or is dependent on the students that are there. And when I heard several years ago that they did things to the boundaries that took essentially students from Steinmetz, or kind of push them to Steinmetz. They did this gerrymandering kind of thing, so that they would get certain students and not other students. Was very strategic. And to hear articles after that one came out that like, oh, Taft is a good school now. It's like, okay, but how and why?
Um, I can tell you exactly why. So actually, I had a conversation about this. My brothers, all three of them went to Taft, 2010 to like 2015. So very different than what it is now. And that's because the demographic has changed. Back then, one of my teachers explained to me, back then, a lot of the students that would be coming to Taft were not from the neighborhood, because a lot of the people in the neighborhood would send their kids to private schools like St. Pat's, Resurrection, all of that. And because they wanted to change sending their kids to private schools, they wanted to fix the actual neighborhood school. I didn't even know that they sent kids fix to what standards. Well, now we know. I didn't even know that they like changed the boundaries so students from Steinmetz couldn't come, or so they can send other kids to Steinmetz. but it makes sense. A lot of kids that are at Taft right now, even the ones, so I was in regulars and honor classes my freshman year, and then last year I joined IB sophomore year. So even a lot of the kids were from just the neighborhood. So a lot of the neighborhood schools and the feeder schools were like Garvey and just like surrounding areas. And then there are some of the students who come from Maywood, and then you do have a select few that don't even live. The kids from the academic center and some of the kids in IB don't even live in the area. They just come from other sides of the city. But the majority of the kids who are in IB are from the neighborhood, and they are from the better schools in the neighborhoods, which are that also happen to have like honor programs and stuff like that. And so that's like I can't think of it, but like Oreo Park, Edison, all of those schools that are considered nicer and that have really nice middle schools and who have like honors, like the honors, or some of them even have an IB YMP program,
Exactly,
which
MIP. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So those are considered the nicer. That's considered the nicer schools. And those areas are very, very, very suburban. The majority of them are white, and they aren't police neighborhoods. So it's a different demographic. So it is, and it's true. A lot of the kids don't look like me. A lot of the kids don't have my same background, and that's fine. Like I don't expect that, but that is a thing that I want to try and change, because I do believe that there was a time where I didn't think that I was good enough for IB. It was my teachers who pushed for it, because I didn't think that I could do it or I was smart enough. And if I didn't have my freshman world studies teacher tell me that I should join, I would have not joined. If
Yeah.
she didn't see that in me, like I would have not done it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so valuable. I think that's so valuable because a lot of people, youth, adults, any age, you don't necessarily see something within you, but when somebody highlights it, it's like, oh, okay, maybe, you know. um, what is remote learning like as a junior, just in school in general? What is it like?
So I'm gonna be honest. I think I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it actually is. It's still bad, but it's a lot worse. Like I expected it to be a lot worse. Um, for me personally, I really like all my teachers. I think they're doing their best, and they do try to get student feedback so they can they're very open to that, so they can improve on everything, so which I really appreciate. And I think it helps that I kind of knew a lot of my peers from previous years, because we kind of were confined to the same classes last year, so it's not completely foreign. But I would understand who, like my sister who's a freshman, who she doesn't know anyone. It's just awkward. You're taking classes. Yeah.
Oh, how
So
sweet.
she could have went to Lane, but she chose this. She chose to do IB. Hmm?
Did you say Lane?
Yeah, she
Oh,
got into like Lane and Von Steuben's like scholar programs, but she chose IB.
okay. I'm dwelling on that just for a second because I remember, and I don't know if this is, like still a thing, but I know like with millennials, Chicago millennials, it was always like a meme or whatever of like a picture of Taft, and it's like Taft, the like when you don't get into Lane, and it's like, excuse me.
It's still very much the same. Yeah, we're Lane rejects, a lot of us. Um, I didn't even okay, honestly, I didn't even try to get into Lane. Like I didn't take the test. I wanted to go. I thought seeing it was so bad. We were talking about this on Friday because I have a Lane Tech sweater, and everyone was telling me, why are you wearing, because there's still very much a rivalry between Taft and Lane, and everyone was telling me, why are you wearing like a Lane Tech sweater? Don't you know, like we're here at Taft or whatever. I don't really care. But sophomore year, freshman year, I legit thought that I wanted to transfer to Lane. I even went to their open house and talked to the principal and everything. It was a whole thing. I'm glad that I didn't though. I'm happy with my choice most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. So remote learning isn't as bad as you thought it would be, or it's not as bad as it could be.
So both. It could be worse, and it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Um, and that's because I am privileged in the sense where I actually like my teachers. My teachers are understanding. I know my classmates, so it makes it easier. I also have my circumstances are relatively easier than most people. Like I'm not working a typical job. I have a few things going on, but it's those are all online. I don't have to actually be in a place like making food for anyone or like at a drive-through or whatever. So
Right.
I yeah, and then also like it's what's really bad about it is just it feels like we kind of talked about, it feels like everything is on pause. So motivation wise, I think I'm not as motivated as I could be. And that's because I'm a very social person, and I really I need that human interaction. And for me, I try to get that through a screen, but there's only so much you can interact with people on. So it's just like so it's so it's weird, but I think I am privileged. I will acknowledge the fact that I am privileged in a sense where it's not that bad for me. Like I have a working space that I have a desk that I can work on. It's what really does suck is like at the end of the night or after you finish school, you go to your clubs or whatever, which is really awkward. Like doing debate on screen, like it's not cute. It's or going to and then going to a bunch of other meetings for whatever it is that I happen to be doing, and then you have to do your homework, and it's really hard because I think it's something that has to happen. Like you need to give homework, it doesn't matter. Again, my teachers have been really understanding about that too. They've extended the deadlines and stuff when if we do ask, but it's a lot of screen time. And I get migraines, which is bad. But I think again, it could be worse because I thought this was going to be like the end of it. I'm never going to talk to anyone online. It's just going to be my teacher like talking at us, but it hasn't been like that for the most part. So I prefer it better than what we were doing last year. I hated that. I hated how teachers would just like give us work and then you had to do it without there was no interaction at all or no live time. So I personally prefer this over what was happening last year. I think it's so
Yeah.
much better. Yeah.
How could they, and we just got the email that said that second quarter after second quarter, right, they'll start to phase in the little ones and diverse learners, the ones that would, benefit from remote learning the most, especially if they have interventions. Like how could they make remote learning better, like for high schoolers, for juniors, come second quarter, come third quarter?
Honestly, I think the whole 80 to 20 thing for screen time is not, I don't think it should
Can
be
you
that.
explain?
Yeah, so 80 to 20 is 80% of class time should be live. That's a CPS rule, and then 20 of it could be asynchronous or just off screen time. So
My
every school
Cronus though is that you still have to have your camera on. Is that true?
it depends on the teacher, but for the most part, no, you end it at the 40-minute mark. But again, every school has a different way that they're doing it. Each schedule is different. So for Taft, we're doing full seven, like all of your 8 classes in one day. So for me, it's like I have a 40-minute class and I have 15 minutes before this other second 40-minute class. And then because I'm a junior, I'm an IB junior, I get my eighth period is my lunch. So I'm just constant, yeah. So I'm constantly on, which is it's a good and bad thing. But I'm constantly on the screen for 7 hours, and it's not always it's not always pleasant, especially if you haven't gotten enough sleep the night before. And in the morning, you can just turn off your screen and like knock out. I
Yeah.
shouldn't be, but it's not. And also, we start at 7:45, so they haven't altered the schedule very much. Like we still start and then end the same time, which is I personally think that it could be done better, because I know schools like Lane and Northside are not doing that. They're doing a block schedule,
Block
which would,
schedule.
yeah. And I wish we were doing that, but we aren't. So I think in order to make the next semester better, I think honestly just having like a 2 hour like from 10 to 12 just without doing anything and off screen, so we can go on a walk or just even just eat lunch. But then I get that would raise other problems, like, well, when are we gonna have the rest of your classes? You're not gonna be on until like 5 p.m., which is also like, that's another thing. So it might have to be block scheduling. But so I guess a set schedule from CPS that would work for most people. um I really wish that, oh, I mean, obviously we also have to take account like the Chicago Teachers Union, and that's a whole thing we also have to take into account, because they can't, oh, this is another issue, tutoring. And like, so I can't, as a CPS student, I can't be with my teacher one on one. There has to be a second person in a room with us on Zoom. So we can't do like one on one meetings with our teachers.
I did
Which,
not know that.
yeah, so which is really not helpful for like tutoring and office hours and stuff like that, because you also have to have um, a third person tag along. So that's something that
Yes.
I would.
Can the third person be another student, or do they have to be an adult?
So it could be another student, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but it.
You. Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
I didn't know that. I can kind of see like the safety precautions in that,
Yeah.
definitely, especially seeing these very weird and disturbing things that are happening on remote learning. But I didn't know that, and I don't know how. I can see how that severely affects students being able to get one-on-one help when normally
Yeah.
you go during office hours or stay behind class for a moment where you are one-on-one. But again, right, like when we're in the classroom, we do have that precaution, like, okay, if we're one-on-one with a student, we keep the door open, and it's like, how do you keep the door open online? You can't. So there has to
So
be
you have to
just
be, yeah. So that's what I was saying. Where, okay, so that's what I was saying. It's really important for tutoring, because we can't get tutoring unless there's a third person there. And then also, because of teacher, there's really no set time where teachers can tutor, because that's taking out of their prep time, which we can't do, or admin can't do. Can't force like a teacher, oh, you need to take your prep time to like tutor the kids. They can't do that because of the Chicago Union's contract or something. Yeah. So, and they can also force them to do it after school. It has to be completely voluntary. So that's
so
also a thing. Hmm?
when do you get tutoring?
I most of my classes we don't. It's really the teachers. It's a teacher run initiative, so each teacher is different. The only teacher that really does it is my my math teacher, and she does it like Tuesdays and Thursdays during her eighth period. But again, that's also a privilege, because all the IB teachers and all IB students have eighth lunch off. So if we do need tutoring, we get that. And not all students have that, because each teacher yeah. So it's a privilege thing too. I get that, but it's also like a lot of my classes are like 30 plus students, which is really annoying, because in IB you have to do IAs, like internal assessments, that you can't, like, you don't work on them in class. They're more things that you work on outside of class, and like extended essay. So when you do need one-on-one tutoring for these things, how's that going to work when you have like 40 plus kids in the class and you can't take the student aside? So it's a whole thing. And I think all the teachers are still kind of trying to navigate it. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like a hot mess. And I cannot imagine teaching in this environment. I think that just like with students, it definitely can be super helpful, and that's how they work. Like, I'd rather be on my own time and have the flexibility of being able to do the dishes and still listen to my class, and be able to multitask. Or I have certain social anxiety, so this is actually better for me. Or like, it definitely is working for some people. But I think that overall, the lack of interaction or normalcy of going into a place or having the routine of taking the bus to school or getting driven or whatever you do is gone. Like, how does this, or how's the last, what has it been, 6 7 months since school was closed? How has that affected mental health?
I think I talked about this. I touched upon it earlier. It's been really difficult because you are right. Like there's that lack of routine where now I can get up at 7:37 and then go to class 3 minutes later. There's like that. It's just it's so weird because I had my own routine in the morning. I would wake up like at 6, sometimes 5:30, do work, whatever, and then my brother would drop me off school by like 6:50 because he's on his way to work. And I would put in my headphones, listen to my podcast, because he'll drop me off at the end of the street where the highway is, and I'll walk to school listening to my podcast. And like I meet my friend, like it was just a whole thing. Like you were able to socialize in that sense and just look forward to the small things, like meeting your friends in the library for the 45 minutes before class started. And there's not that anymore. So for me, that was really hard. Not At first, it was really hard because I wasn't doing everything that I just like loved doing and looked forward to doing every single day. It was just me and my like online assignments that my teachers assigned on Google Classroom. And again, that was also really stressful because there was also other things going on in the world. And that was really hard to just like go through on my own, or felt like on my own. Because although it wasn't directly affecting me, it was weird. Like it was something that I wanted to talk about with people. And just like I'm also very much the type of person, if I learned a new thing, I will go to my teacher and I will talk about it. Yeah, I'm that student. But I couldn't I couldn't do that last year. I couldn't listen to my Why This podcast and tell my teacher why Mike Pence is so bad and what's like I okay, that was uncalled for. But I couldn't do any of that anymore. And that like I last year, I think I went through this whole thing where I was just so unmotivated. My assignments, I would do them last minute or I was late. And again, this is really weird for me because I'm not that like I was never that student where I'm very much like a type A student where I do my yeah. So it was different for me. And I'm also again
I
I'm
don't
an
know type A. Just a quick, what does that mean?
Very organized, very on top of things, like good grades type of student. Um, but I'm also an extrovert. So I wasn't getting my daily interaction. I was just in my room all day. And it was hard. It was really hard. And then there was like this point where my parents just I couldn't see them anymore because I was with them like 24/7. Everyone in my family, like I so it was just this whole thing of my sisters were home, they were doing online school, I was home, I was doing online school, and it was really bad. Like it was really bad. Um
I
my
want to stay there
anxiety.
because that brings up a great point. I feel like part of the what's really missing from remote learning, like the planning and just consideration or just the story, is like how it's affecting the world around the student. Like, how has remote learning or just social distancing in general like affected your particular experience, like in the household, you having siblings that are also in remote learning, and yeah, your exposure to your parents?
Yeah, so I live in an apartment, so it's really not that big. And I have hold on, like seven other people who live with us. So it's not that pleasant. And I also do have my own room that I share. Again, I fixed it up for online learning. I got a desk, whatever. Um, but it was hard because there wasn't a lot of room to do anything. And I think at the end, like over the summer, we took the summer and we fixed everything and we created our own spaces. But before last year, it was really just me in bed. Like I wasn't doing it, and I didn't get out of my room because I just didn't want to see people. I didn't want to see my, because again, keep in mind, I was doing things up until I wouldn't get home until 5 every single day, sometimes even 7, because I had taekwondo or I had like kickboxing or whatever. And I didn't see, like, I interacted with my parents a little bit, like I just like a healthy amount, but we didn't, we, but then there was just nothing. We were just in each other's faces the whole day. There was nothing to talk about. There was nothing to like. There was nothing to tell them anymore. There was nothing we were
Because they
doing.
saw what you did all day.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
stay at home.
Yeah, it's just exactly. So it was this whole thing. And I was also fasting last year. I was fasting in Ramadan, and I didn't want to go outside. Like I didn't want to go on a walk. I didn't want to, I was tired and I was hungry. So I just didn't want to do anything. And I just spent the whole day on my room, on my phone, looking through social media, which was all like everything that was going on with the protests and everything. And just like seeing people that I know who are, I blocked, no, just so it was just it was a whole thing. And I was really anxious. Like I was very, very anxious. And also it was weird because, I'm Middle Eastern. My parents are immigrant parents. I was born in Palestine. Like we immigrated here. So it's different because their approach to mental health isn't the same thing as I do think of it. And I realized they also noticed that my mental health was kind of deteriorating. And they tried their best, but I was, again, because we were together 50 hours like a day. We were together the full 24 hours, 24/7. We didn't, there wasn't just, it was kind of, there was an irritation that nobody addressed, but yeah, that was a whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I wonder, I talk to my dad all the time about like, is this the new normal? Like, are we just going to get more creative in how we social distance? Because he was bringing up how they opened the hot bar at Whole Foods, and so now you get to sanitize your hands before you put the gloves on, and now you can get your hot bar food and all that. Like, is this just going to be like the new normal? And then if it doesn't, if things open up and we go like back to the world that we had before COVID, like what adjustment is that going to be like? Like I always wonder, like if people get used to this remote learning, like how are we going to adjust to going back to school or going back to work, and who's going to be more willing to stay in remote learning? It's really interesting, and I'm so interested in like seeing this, like we mentioned before, like this is a time in history that's going to be in the textbooks. Like what the numbers and statistics that are going to be crunched, like what's going to happen because of this moment, because kindergartners are starting school online. What does that mean for these kindergartners?
Like
Like
10 years. Yeah.
yeah,
What does it mean 10 years? Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I this is going to show how nerdy I am, but I came up with a whole bunch of so in AP US history, you have to do you do long essay questions. I don't know if you took it before, but you do like just different type of essay questions. And I came up with a bunch of questions that you could ask about this and just how everything connected to each other. There's going to be a causation essay. Someone in the future is going to write a causation essay about how coronavirus is connected to BLM and the
Everything.
protest. Exactly. And it's going to be it's so weird because I can almost picture just how I read my textbook last year. Like I can picture what this chapter is going to look like. I I know that sounds crazy, but I literally I emailed my APS history teacher a list of questions of what an essay could look like. And that's because everything is connected. Like it wasn't And the Trevor Noah explained this really well in his video about how coronavirus is connected to BLM, and he explained it. He was like, it's not just George Floyd. Like, you got to understand, people were indoor. They were angry. There was like lockdown. Everyone was frustrated and annoyed. And then George Floyd died. That created, and then Breonna Taylor, and then that created. It's not that created like an influx of just people wanted change and they wanted things to happen. And it's not because also like coronavirus affected Black and brown communities the most. In Chicago, I think what Black people, I think 30% of the Chicago population, but they got 70% of the COVID cases. That speaks volume about like the inequity in the city, and the inequality also. And it's calculated. Well, not calculated, but it's all connected. And it's not out of the bloom. Like, this didn't happen because people are, the left are saying because Black Lives Matter is the leftist communist whatever, like,
Yeah.
anarchy group. This happened because of everything that we were going through.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point about bringing up Trevor Noah and him, connecting Black Lives Matter to COVID. And I remember having a conversation with my dad shortly after George Floyd was murdered, and he was like, I don't understand. And my dad is Black, and like, I don't understand why this is such a big deal when we didn't make a big deal about others. And it was like, unfortunately, the others, we had a distraction. We had work, we had school, we had normal life. It was an article to just swipe up. It was another news to go, you hear this 30 seconds and then you go into some other news segment. But we are at home, no distraction. It's being replayed, it's being reshared, it's being reposted. And so you don't have the distraction, and you're able to give like the proper amount of weight, fortunately and unfortunately, to like what happened. Because the other times, all the other names that we have on posters and on sidewalk chalk and everything else, unfortunately were ignored because we had a distraction. And now we're bringing up the names, which is better late than never. But yeah, and I like that you brought that up.
Yeah. It's all connected, and it's gonna be so weird. Just like this is also just everything that's happening right now. Oh, you talked about if it was a new normal. Honestly, it's so weird because right now, as I'm watching like TV shows, and when people hug or when people like touch, and I was like, oh, COVID. Like,
Yes.
ooh.
Sometimes when I'm watching YouTube videos, I was like, is this pre-COVID? Like,
Yeah.
I look at the
Which
date.
is, yeah, I know, which is so weird because it's like, there's like, everyone's kinds of angsty about it. And it's so weird. It's so weird how things, there's gonna be things that I'm probably not gonna know. So
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
No.
We're gonna adapt to it in some ways. But it's also interesting because, okay, I don't want to get off too sidetracked, but this is gonna affect school, I think, especially college, in like the long term or long run. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the next few years, because there's a lot of students who did drop out. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
What I didn't even plan for this conversation. A lot you brought up student dropout.
Yeah.
So just a second, like what's your experience with that? What do you know about student dropout during this time?
Well, I mean, okay, so because a lot of students, okay, so I watched these videos like on Vox explaining how, because of COVID, the colleges are at all-time enrollment rate. Like, it's been really low, and that's because a lot of schools are online and they're having students pay full, or just a lot of students, especially international students. I know it's frustrating, and it's like international students who also dropping out, which we get a lot of colleges make a lot of money off of international students because they pay full price, especially like big institutes like Yale, Columbia, like all of the Ivies, because those are, it's expensive to go to an Ivy. It's like 80,000 a year, and all of these international students like pay full price. So a lot of students have been dropping out, and a lot of small colleges like Liberty College, like, you know, small liberal arts colleges, um a lot of them, or I forgot the name of it, so I'm not going to say it, but a lot of small colleges that didn't have a huge number of students, those are going out of business. And it's sad to say that it's going out of business, because they are treated like businesses, but
Yeah.
they have no students. They can't work, they're not going to run, and it's just, it leaves you like think how the education system is going to change in the next few years, or is like online schools, or schools like Phoenix University, the ones that are online, are those numbers going to increase? And it's like, how is that going to work? It's going to be so interesting to see that play out. Are students going to be more willing to do online classes now that they've experienced it? Like, it's so weird. It's going to be really weird to just see this play out, because I feel like university is not a necessity anymore. You don't need it for a lot of things now. There's like job is like being an influencer or a YouTuber is considered an actual job now. Like that's crazy, but it's true. And you know, you have people like Addison Rae, who is a TikToker now, she's like 21, dropping out of like, what is it, UCLA or something, so, or no, University of Kentucky, I don't know, but something like that.
Uh-huh.
So I know, two completely different schools. I realized as I was saying that. But yeah, so that's just interesting. We should probably like wind back the conversation, because I don't know where this is going.
I mean, where no, it's going. Okay, so then where would you like to see yourself upon graduation?
Oh God. I want to go to college. Like that's like, I want to go to Chicago. That's like, that's
University
actually,
of Chicago.
yeah. I mean, I want to go to university, yes, but I shouldn't display this to the whole world, because if I don't go to University of Chicago, I'm probably going to be really sad. But I do see myself going to college, and I am planning on going to college. Um, but I'm also finding myself like, is it a necessity? Like, it's a question that I've never asked myself before, but I think for me it is. It is something that I have to do, because I do want to go into politics, and I want to go into like international relations and affairs, or I want to major in that lane of things, and then hopefully someday some type of job that I like. But I don't know. I don't know. I know what I want to go, but I don't think that like route is, I don't think that college is the only way to do that. I'm being honest. Like, I don't have to go to college for it, but it is something that would make my life easier. So
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Thinking about this time last year, mid-October 2019, what advice would you give that Layan now in hindsight?
Oh, stop stressing. Um, I was planning everything. Like, I was planning everything out. I planned it all out. And actually, a lot of it I checked off, because I'm just, again, type A, but a lot of it I checked off, but a lot of it came in a way that I didn't expect to come. And yeah, it's weird. I've learned a lot about myself in the past few years, in the past 9 months, actually, more than a few years. But I I think to stop worrying about it. It'll be okay. Just even thinking back about it, my worry was making sure I had a good grade on my quiz, like on Fridays, my AP US history quiz Fridays, or like my English essay. But I had to, yeah. I think I worry too much. I still do it, but now it's more controllable. It's like, it's not going to matter in the next few minutes, so I shouldn't worry about it. It's like, so I try to, it's better right now, but I'm very much, um I'm the type of person to worry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you see yourself a year from today?
Well, I'm gonna be applying to schools. um I don't want to say something superficial like, oh, I hope I've like I really I hope that I'm at a place where I am comfortable with everything that's going on around me, or and I'm comfortable with just myself and everything. Because I think right now I'm still very hasty and like hesitant to tell people a lot of things. And I think I want to be at a place where I'm comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can definitely relate to that. Yeah. Um, on our closing, this time has, I feel like, gone by so
I
fast. And
know.
we segued and then like came back, and then
Yeah.
I love where this conversation has gone, especially since we both went to Taft. So we definitely spent some time here for
Yeah.
whoever's watching this that did or didn't go to Taft. But what piece of advice would you like to give, or would you give to people who are watching this?
This is going to be super corny, but make sure everything that you're doing is something that you like and that you love doing. And if you have something that you are truly passionate about and you need some type of sign to go after, just do it. Like it'll just do it. Um, you will not regret it. And even if you do regret it, you're not going to regret it for, or no, you're not going to regret it. Even if you do fail at it, you're going to learn like some, probably the biggest lesson of your life. And it's going to take you somewhere else. It might create a new idea, but just go after what you want. Even if you don't think it's going to go anywhere, just do it. Because you don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's such good advice. I think the times that we debate, oh, should I, shouldn't I? It's like, you want to, you just don't feel you should, either because other people don't want you to, or maybe it seems silly. But that's definitely good advice for the road. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I'm so grateful for your time, your energy, and your background, which I've been seeing.
Thank you. This is all from like different college magazines. I'm not even kidding. I didn't spend anything on this.
Oh, nice,
I
nice.
know, right? This is like I can call out each one. This is from Columbia College. Thank you for the art. I really appreciate it. This is from like Whitman, I think. Um, this is from U Chicago. Hold on. This is from DePaul. So
Nice.
this is all college stuff. It's also kind of my vision board. I wouldn't
No,
say that, but
I thought it was because I see good vibes like in the left hand
yeah,
screen. And so I was like, maybe this is her vision board. Maybe this and the desk was part of her like COVID, roomification, like,
yeah,
just
it was.
getting your.
Yeah,
I had no idea that they were from colleges. College pamphlets do tend to spend a decent amount of money on their photography and art.
I know, and they're super nice. Like this is all from DePaul. I
Yeah.
really liked it. I stole them, the loop and stuff. I tried finding them. Tried finding similar things on Amazon or just even online, but I couldn't find them. So I just made my own.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you, everyone who is watching this right now, who is going to watch this in the future. We had such a great time, such a long and nice conversation with Layan, a junior at Taft. And we hope to hear from you soon and more times after this. So thank you to
Thank you for
everyone.
having me. Bye, everyone. Go after your dreams. It's worth it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.